Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Night Live with me, Jonny Lipsham, here at jonnylipshamstudios.co.uk, here in the Midlothian area of southeast Scotland. I hope everybody is doing well and has had a good week. Anonymous Housewife says, there's the sound I kept looking for. Why no sound? Yes, the at the start of the show, that is just a silent video. It's one of my new intro videos that was made for me by Louis at Alps Media, who sponsors this show. And he made that video for me, and it doesn't have any sound, and it basically just plays on a loop. And it's just basically just to advertise the show. Excuse me, before I actually start the show. So that's basically what that's all about. That's why there's no sound until I start playing the theme tune music. So that's kind of how that works. I do a similar one for the for my songwriting show as well. Songwriting Simplified. There's a similar video for that as well. So basically that's what that is. I have a couple of new kind of intros that I've done. The one that was for tonight's show, that was made by Louis. The Songwriting Simplified one I made. Yeah, that's what that is. All right, so let's get into this. Let's go see who we got here. We got Billy Morgan, who was first in the door, like by about 4 hours or so. And we got Chris Ragnar as well. We've got Billy Morgan. We got Stephen Wilson. We got the W5 family. And we've got Just Bob. And we've got Kyle Traduziak. We've got RJ Hagler. Hello. Welcome back, RJ. And we got Dwayne552. We got Tony Cardona. We got Lowens here. We got Keith from Radio Tuck Frumpet here. We got Dave Barcelo. And we got Ron Figura. And we have... Who else do we have? We got Frank Wagner, and we got Don Oliver as well, and we got, as I said, the Anonymous Housewife. We got Simon Carpenter here as well, which is awesome. Billy says, "Can you fix that intro in Studio One?" What intro? I'm not sure what you're talking about. If you're talking about my intro video, no, there's no audio on it. It's deliberate. Ron Figueroa has fixed his problem, it would seem. He says he's on Edge now, and it worked. Okay, there we go. And that's it. I think we are all told. Bobby Beard has just walked in, which is cool. So, I think we are pretty much all accounted for. We got 21 people here, which is awesome. Like, literally, to start the show with 21 people. That's pretty cool. So, you'll see from tonight's show title that it's the Quantum HD8 special. Yes, I have managed to get my hands on a Quantum HD8, which is really, really cool. I've had it for maybe about 2 or 3 days or so. I've been away for the weekend, so I've not had a chance to really use it this weekend. But yeah, in summary, just to sum it up in one sentence, it's awesome. That's all I'm going to say in one sentence. It's freaking awesome. I don't normally do... Oh, yeah, Rich is here. Rich Cresswell is here. And he has some new stuff on his website, s1box.com. There is a link. Well, it's not really a link, but in the description below, I've made mention of S1 Box, and I think you ought to check it out. I think I mentioned it on the Wednesday show as well. Please do go check it out. There are some awesome sound sets that Rich has made and released, and they are definitely very, very well worth checking out. I highly recommend it, and you'll find that on his website there is a link to his Buy Me a Coffee site. I recommend also that you go do that. Now, it's voluntary. You don't have to go buy him a coffee, but I just think it would be a nice thing to do. So, I'm not ordering or commanding anybody to do it because I don't really have that authority or power, frankly. But I am going to say I recommend you do it because it's just a nice thing to do for somebody that actually puts a lot of time and effort into making free content. And that's what it is. It's free content. It's free sound sets. So go get that stuff. Billy has posted a link to the synthwave sound set, which is really, really cool. There's a few different things, different flavors, different types, different things for different styles of music and different musics that you'd be working in. So go grab them. Give them a try. See if you like them. And if you like them, go back to that website and hit Buy Me a Coffee. I'm sure Rich would appreciate it. I appreciate everything that Rich does for the Studio One community. So, and he does really like coffee. He has a coffee maker in his studio, so definitely buy him a coffee so that he can keep that coffee machine cranking out good coffee. All right, so yes, the Quantum HD8 is a fantastic new device from PreSonus. It's a wonderful audio interface. Although it is called Quantum, and it is in the Quantum series of interfaces, this and its smaller counterpart, the HD2, they are USB audio devices. So they're not Thunderbolt like the previous Quantum devices. Does that mean the other Quantum devices are being discontinued? No. So you now have Thunderbolt and USB, part of the same family. They just, they have different types of connectivity. You can either use USB or you can use Thunderbolt. So being that they are USB, they are obviously going to be a wee bit slower than Thunderbolt, because Thunderbolt is lightning, literally, and ludicrously fast. So you're not going to get that with USB. However, what I will say is I've given it a pretty darn good road test at a few different buffer sizes, and you can certainly get some very, very low latency. And it does have a built-in low latency driver built into it, which is specifically designed to work with the low latency monitoring path in Studio One, which has been inside of Studio One for at least 6 years, if not longer. Maybe 7 years, actually, since I think version 3.5, I think is when the low latency monitoring path was created for Studio One. But this interface has a specific driver that works with that. So it's very, very cool. It can go super duper low. I've managed to get it just on the first day, having unboxed it and wired it in and stuff, and just started putting it through its paces. I got it down to 3.5 milliseconds of round trip latency, which to me, that for a USB audio interface, that's really impressive. It's super duper fast. But when you're not using that low latency driver, it's still ludicrously fast. Without that low latency driver, it's still like 5 or 6 milliseconds. So it's still super duper fast. It does have some very, very cool integration with Studio One, which I think a few people have made videos on this now. If you're wanting a really, really thorough, deep dive into the Quantums, both the HD8 and HD2, the video I'm going to recommend is Marcus Huskin's video. It's really, really good. Now, he does a feature video on the HD8, and it is really, really good. He does talk about some things that are unique to Macs that I'm not using a Mac, I'm using a PC. So there are things that you don't get. For example, he talks about multi-channel integration with the loopback in things like Zoom. So from what I have seen from my usage of the latest version of Zoom with the Quantum HD8, you don't get that multi-channel loopback integration in Zoom on a PC. You do on a Mac, but you don't on a PC. However, if you are wanting to use loopback in Zoom, it is really, really easy. And you can basically select in universal control in the mixer, you can select what you want to send to that loopback. So if you've got like 10 or 12 channels of audio, like you want to, let's say you're doing drum lessons, for example, and you've got your drum set nice and multi-mic'd, then one of the things you can do is you can send all of those plus your talkback mic, so talking to your student. You can have like your 8 or 10 microphones plus your mic that you're using to talk to your student, all sent to the loopback. And then you can have that loopback set as the microphone in Zoom. And your student will be able to hear everything that you're saying. They'll be able to hear what you're playing and everything. So it does work really, really well. Dwayne says, does it have DSP on board, like the FAT channel? It doesn't have the FAT channel. The only interface that is currently supported that has the FAT channel DSP are the Studio Live Series 3 mixers and the Studio 192. And the Studio 192 is kind of discontinued, but certainly the Series 3 mixers and the rack mount mixers, they have that DSP built in. But the FAT channel DSP built in. But no, the Quantums don't have the FAT channel, but they do have DSP, and that's how you get the loopback. So I will show you a little bit of the universal control mixer, so you can see how this works. Excuse me. So this is the universal control mixer, and these are the 8 inputs. Now, you're probably wondering, where is loopback? How do you set up loopback? I don't see any option for loopback. Well, that's fine. You just go into here and you click on this button here to show it, and then you click on the cogwheel again. And now the loopbacks show up, and as you can see, there are sends. Now, you will see that there are 2 loopbacks available on the on all of the new Quantum interfaces, including this one. So the HD8, the HD2, and the 2 ES interfaces, they all have 2 loopbacks. So you can have loopback 1, loopback 2, but you've also got all of these sends as well to different outputs. So if you're using different outputs for headphone mixes, for example, let's say I have somebody standing behind me who is playing acoustic guitar and singing, and I'm recording them. Well, what I can do is I can set up their headphones on output 3 and 4, and I can basically put an amount of send for their microphone, amount of send for the guitar, and then amount of send for everything else in Studio One to their headphones. And I can set the headphones. At the moment, the headphones are set to output 1 and 2, but you can change that. You can change that to output 3 and 4. It's very, very easy, very, very simple. And then, why is that saying output 3 and 4 here? I don't understand why that is. That's very strange. Yeah, I don't understand why that was selected. Anyway, so basically you can have that set up. Rich is saying hide your creator page. I don't know what he means by hide your creator page. Oh, he's talking about my he's talking about this. He's talking about my stream. It's fine. I don't mind if sometimes that gets shown. But if I do that, sometimes I can't see the chat. So I've separated the chat out now. There we go. All right, so as you can see, you can set the loop back up here. So this is the PC. So this is going to be my output to loopback for Studio One, which is what you are hearing when I play my intro music. That's Studio One going out on loopback one, and there's loopback one there, and then that's going into OBS. John says, so essentially the same send matrix as the 1824C. Yeah, pretty much exactly the same. Now, you do get some extra things at the top here. You get a high-pass filter, and you get the phantom power, and you get auto gain. Auto gain is extremely cool. I'll talk about that in a wee minute. And a 20 dB pad if you need it for, like, if you're recording a saxophone or something that's really loud, got loud gain, then yes, you can use the pad there. And then you've got your gain control as well. And then because this is a keyboard, there is no gain control. This is trim control for that. And then you've got the fader here. And then I could apply a high pass filter if I wanted to. And then that's my 8 inputs here. Now, if I had ADATs, and I was using the ADATs in and outs, then I'd have a whole bunch of other inputs and outputs available there as well. Seems you have mix for the loopback too. Yes, I can do a separate mix for loopback. So if I decide that I want to hear plenty of my mic coming through my speakers, but it's too loud for you guys, then I can change that. Now, at the moment, I'm not doing that. The reason why you don't see my microphone going on loopback 1 or the keyboard going on loopback 1 is because they are already on their own separate channel in OBS. So I don't need to do that. However, if I was working with Zoom, then I could just set my microphone input to loopback 1, and then I could just turn these guys up, and I could set levels for my keyboard, for my microphone, and then for anything else that I want to set a volume for going into not OBS, into Zoom, because Zoom basically only has one microphone input on a PC. On Mac, yes, you do get the option for selecting different multi-channel inputs into Zoom. You don't get that on a Mac. You don't get on a PC. You get that on a Mac. Don't know why. It is just one of those things. One of those quirks. Is the 48 volt phantom power per channel or global? It's per channel. So you can see here, I have it selected for channel 1, but not for the other ones. So it's not enabled for any of the other channels. So yeah, there is a separate button for each channel for the phantom power, as you can see here. And then I've got it enabled for the microphone here because this is obviously a condenser mic. It needs the 48 volts, but the other inputs are not in use. And this, of course, is my keyboard. It does not require phantom power. So it is per channel. Now, it's got combi jack inputs on the back. And so the interface is smart enough to know the difference between a TRS cable being plugged in and an XLR cable being plugged in. And therefore, it knows what is what. So it knows not to make the 48 volts available to you if you're using a TRS input, because it doesn't need it. So it's smart enough for that. The device itself is powered by a wall power supply. There's a cable, and that's it. It's not bus powered because it would require a lot of power to do all of this stuff, which is too much for the USB bus on your computer. So the Quantum HDs are powered. They're not bus powered. Whereas the smaller ones, the ES interfaces, those are bus powered. They don't need an external power supply. but the HD ones do, because they require a lot more power for what they do. So that's basically how you set up loopback, and you can do a separate loopback mix to what is going to go out to your broadcast, either OBS or Zoom or Skype or whatever you're doing. So you can balance everything exactly how you want it to go out to streaming. And you can have that separately to what is coming through your speakers. And the cool thing is you can use a set of headphones and have the set of headphones monitoring the loopback. So you can have your headphones monitoring the loopback, so you can adjust what you need to adjust as it goes out to streaming. And then your speakers could be the main output 1 and 2 mix. So a completely different mix, which is really, really cool. You didn't have that on the 1824. So that's definitely a very, very cool little feature to have. And then in settings here, you can colorize the channel strips. You can bypass the mixer. You can use fader flip to set the different levels using faders instead of the send sliders. And then you can have the main encoder set to 1 and 2. Mute, you can set this to mute or dim. And then your SPDIF source can be set to any of these available inputs. And then HP1 is not a high pass. HP stands for headphones. So headphone source 1 is output 1 and 2. But as I said, you can change this one to monitor the loopback if you want to. And then speaker switching is off because I've only got one set of speakers. If I had more than one set of speakers connected to the outputs on the back, of which there are 10, then I could employ the speaker switching so that I can have A to B or A to A and B. So if I had a sub, for example, then I would use this one here. But I don't need that. And as I said, you can show the digital outputs as well. So if I do that, when you look at the bottom here, there's a little scroll bar, and you can see all of my ADATs. But as I said, I'm not using the ADATs, so I don't need to see those. But I do want to see my loopback. And there's my loopback with the little computer screen. So these have icons like you see in Studio One. So, you know, you can select whatever icon fits your particular item that you're recording, and you can colorize these. The interesting thing about this GUI, when it's in light mode, because my PC is in light mode, when it's in light mode like this, it looks a little bit like Studio One version 2, to be honest. It certainly reminds me of Studio One version 2. Anyway, so that's universal control. And then in Studio One, you get this nice integration here with the channel controls for headphones and speaker monitoring. You've got your dim switch here and your mute, and then your speakers. You can turn them off or whatever you need to do. And then you've got these controls at the top of the channel strips. These are very nice. So here you can, so on this channel here, because it's a keyboard part, I can only adjust the trim. And then these are virtual instruments, so there's no controls there. And this is an audio channel. So here I've got, and it's stereo, excuse me, I'm about to sneeze, and I'm trying not to. Excuse me. So, oh boy. And so these, oh, man, excuse me. So this gives you control over the preamp gain, the high pass filter, and the phantom power. Wow. Excuse me, folks. I apologize for the sneezing. Once I start sneezing, I tend to not be able to stop, by the way. So we will battle on whilst I sneeze, and I apologize. But yes, you've got auto gain. Auto gain is really, really cool. And you can't see me. There we go. Let me go over here. Auto gain is very, very cool. Because what you can do with auto gain is you can enable auto gain. Excuse me. No, this is not hay fever. I do actually have a cold. So with auto gain, you can basically have the interface listen to the input of a microphone or an instrument. And you basically talk or sing or play into that particular input, and the interface will listen for 10 seconds, and during those 10 seconds it will average excuse me, it will average what the input level should be set at, the gain level should be set at. This is really, really good if you are wanting just to get to recording very quickly. You don't want to spend a lot of time messing about with setting your input levels. So that's one use case. The other use case is if you are miking up a drum set and you're using all 8 input channels. So you've got 8 microphones over the drum set, and you want to get to recording pretty quickly. So basically you would push in all 8 buttons on the front of the Quantum HD8 to enable all of the inputs, and then you press the auto button, which is on the front of the interface. And when you do that, you just tell your drummer to play at an appropriate volume level, and then after 10 seconds the interface will basically set all the gains for those mics, and then you're ready to go. And actually I've tested this with just my singing voice, and it's actually pretty good. It gets the gain level pretty much exactly where I would like it. I may turn it down 1 dB, I think, or 2 dB at the most, because I think it's maybe been a little bit generous with the amount of gain that I need, and I'll just knock off a couple of dB. It's fine. You can kind of correct for it once you've used auto gain to get you in the ballpark. You can correct for it a wee bit. So I've done that, and I've tested with the flugelhorn as well, and it nailed it. It was fine. And I engaged the 20 dB pad when I'm playing the flugelhorn rather than when I'm singing, and it works out great. So that's one of the really, really, for me, that's one of the best features of the Quantum HD8, is that you get the auto gain, which basically gets you setting levels and getting recording in 10 seconds. Very, very cool. So I think that was 6 times a sneeze there, I think. That is not a record for me. My personal record is 57, which was set back in March this year. So I don't really want to have to break that record, because let me tell you this, it left me flipping done in. I was exhausted by the end of it, and I don't want to have to repeat that. Thank you very much. All right, so let's go see, is there any other questions about this device? Aurora's Boring Alice says, can you run the Octopre from Focusrite 8 inputs via ADAT? No issues in compatibility. You should be able to do that. I don't see why not. Now, the only thing to bear in mind is the Focusrite is a third-party device with a third-party device driver. You may possibly have a conflict of drivers, but you shouldn't do. It should work. It should just see the ADAT as just the ADAT input. It really shouldn't have an issue. But it is a third-party device, and you have to bear that in mind. So the secondary question then is, can you have 2 quantums daisy chained together via ADAT? And I believe you can. I have been told by a few people that you can. You can get two HD8s and you can use them via ADAT. So you can basically double up on the I/O. I believe you can do that. I don't know 100% whether that's technically supported or not, but I have heard that it is possible. Let's see, what else do we have? Kyle says you can bridge 3 of these together for 24 tracks via ADAT light pipe. But other preamp was only. Yes, it is $1,000. Yes, the HD8 is a $1,000 device. Yes, which is about 860 something pounds UK. But so far for me, it is very, very, very well worth the money. I would definitely agree with that, and I'm not just saying that because I work for the company that make it. Aurora says, judging by the room, Jonny is allergic to talent. Thank you so very much. Yeah. Okay, at least 8 or 9. Thank you. Simon says 8. 8 sneezes. Good. I'll take that. When you say 10 outputs, does that include main outs? Yes. Are you going to run a physical audition of the Quantum in your studio? You're listening to it right now. I'm speaking to you through the Quantum HD. So you're listening to it. And the theme tune music that you heard is also playing straight through the Quantum HD. I believe you can run ADAT to 16 tracks. Yes, you can. ADAT is 16 I/O, I believe. 16 inputs for sure. So add the 8 physical inputs to the 16, and that's 24 in. So that's pretty cool. That's a lot of I/O. If you need that much I/O, it's definitely worth investing in, I think. So yeah, 16 via ADAT, I believe. Dollars is cool, just don't want to sell the wife just for more. That's funny. I'll agree that that's funny. That's funny. All right, so we got, how many people do we have here just now? Let's go take a look. So we got 24 people here, which is awesome. If you guys have any more questions on the Quantum HD, I'd be happy to answer them for sure. Bear in mind, I've only had this for a few days. I have not extensively tested this. I wanted to have one of these before launch, but unfortunately not. But I have it now. So I'm going to be working with this interface full time. And I will definitely be putting it through its paces. And I'm sure in the future, if you guys have more questions on the HD, and as I gain more experience with it, I will have more to show you and more to be able to answer. Is your Nord on a mono input? Yes, it is. It is on input 2. So input 1 is the microphone, input 2 is the Nord, which is why I can have it as a separate input in OBS. Very cool. So I've got the mic and the keyboard on a separate input into OBS, and Studio One is on its own input. And the cool thing about that is that means I can apply EQ and compression and limiting to inputs 1 and 2 and not to the loopback. So the loopback has no treatment on it at all, and my microphone does have treatment on it to keep it nice and crisp and clean and all of that. So yeah, so it's I have it set up differently. That's why I don't have in Loopback 1, as you saw, I don't have the mic or the keyboard on Loopback 1 because I don't want that. I actually want them to be on a separate channel in OBS. So when I'm using Zoom or Slack or WhatsApp or anything else like that, then yes, I will turn those sends to Loopback 1 up so that people can hear me, and they can also hear Studio One, and they can hear the keyboard as well, all at the same time on the same input into that software, whatever it might be. And then I just turn them off when I don't need them. Like when I'm doing this show, I don't need them. The only thing I need is Studio One going through the loopback. And as far as I can tell, it sounds pretty good. And as far as I can tell, the voice sounds pretty good. So please do, tell me what you think about the quality of this microphone and the volume of it as it goes through the Quantum. Because really, I haven't done any level testing at all with OBS because I just haven't had time. I've been away for the weekend. And so I came in and I was just like, I'm just going to have to hit and hope and set it up and hope that it works. So, if you think my voice is too loud, then I can turn it down. Or if you think it's not loud enough, I can turn it up. So, just let me know what you think, guys. I'd appreciate that. Let's see. Aurora's Pouring Out says, could you drop it accidentally, step on it, and send it to me to fix? That's funny. This is more for streaming, correct? If so, is the auto game function going to become available for interfaces just for recording? You can use this for recording. You can absolutely use this for recording. It's not just a streaming interface. I mean, that would be a very, very expensive streaming interface. $1,000 for a streaming interface? Are you kidding? Nobody's going to pay for that. You absolutely can use this for recording. Like I said, if you've got 8 microphones on a drum kit and you want to record drums into Studio One, you can do that with the Quantum HD8. You can use all of those mic preamps to do that. The mic preamps are not the X-Max pre's of all the other PreSonus interfaces. They are the next generation of X-Max pre's. These are now known as Max HD mic pre's. And they are definitely a step up from what I had with the 1824C, which was the X-Max pre's. And so you can use the auto gain for setting up levels for your drum set to record drums into a song in Studio One and use that for client work. It's not really for streaming. Streaming is just a byproduct. The loopback feature inside the interface is a byproduct. So, even if you're just a solo person and you only need 2 inputs, get the HD2. Get the Quantum HD2. It only has 2 inputs and 2 outputs. If that's all you need, that's all you need. It's got MIDI. It's got 2 inputs, 2 outputs, but it also has the loopback, just like the HD8 does. So, if you're needing loopback for streaming, great. But if you don't, and you just want to make, have the advantage of the higher gain, because there's like 75 dB of gain that you get with these, with all of the new Quantum interfaces, they all have 75 dB of gain. But if you're only needing 2 inputs, like a microphone and a guitar, or microphone and a keyboard, whatever it is, if you only need those 2 inputs, then, maybe the HD8 is going to be overkill for you, and you're not going to use all of those inputs. Then, just get the HD2, which has just got 2 I/O. It's not a rack-mounted device, but, it still would definitely do the job. So, if you're not familiar with the Quantums, we can actually take a look at some of the features of the Quantums. So, I can give you a little guided tour of these from the PreSonus website. So we got the Quantum ES and the Quantum HD. So we'll look at the Quantum HDs because that's what I have here. So here's the HD8 and here's the HD2. Now, you'll notice on the front of both of these, you have two guitar line inputs and two guitar line outputs. The inputs are the same inputs as on the Fender Tone Master Pro. So basically, you are essentially getting an interface plus a Tone Master Pro built into the same device. Now, bear in mind how much the Tone Master Pro is. The Tone Master Pro is worth about $1,600. So if you've got the HD8, you've got $1,000 interface plus a $1,500 Tone Master Pro built in. It doesn't have all the amp sims and everything else of the Tone Master Pro, but it has the exact same inputs. And the outputs are for reamping. So if you record a dry guitar signal and you decide that you, having recorded that, you decide, hey, I would like to run that through my Fender Twin amp, or I'd like to do some wah-wah on that because I wish I had done that when I recorded the guitar part. And you want to do some wah-wah after the fact. Well, that's what the reamping for. That's what these reamping outputs are for. So you can take the output and you can run it into your wah-wah pedal, run it into an amp, mic up the amp, bring that back in on an input on the back of the Quantum and record that into Studio One. So your dry guitar track already recorded can then be reamped and then brought back into Studio One. And you can do that on the HD8, you can do that on the HD2. The HD8 has two headphone outs, the HD2 only has the one. But let's take a look at the differences here. Like I said, guitar bass inputs co-developed by Fender. And you've got the auto gain, you've got the encoder, and then you've got USB-C connectivity, and you've got ADAT on the back, and you got word clock on the HD8, and you got MIDI and SPDIF connectivity as well. And it also comes with Studio One Hybrid, Studio One Plus Hybrid, and then of course you get your perpetual license at the end of that year. So let's take a look. So if you don't want the HD8 because you only need two inputs, then you got two inputs right here on the $500 HD2. 75 dB of gain. You got 124 dB of dynamic range on the converters, the A to D converters. You get Studio One Plus Hybrid, you get universal control, you get your headphone, and you get your two instrument outs. You also get auto gain on both devices, and connectivity via USB-C. The HD2 has 4 line outputs. The HD8 has 10, and you've got speaker switching on both. So if you need to check your mixes on different speakers, you can plug 2 sets of speakers in, or 3 sets, whatever you want to do. And you can switch between those. And you've got your reamp outputs as well. You've got loopback. You've got a full color high resolution screen, and you've got ADAT up to 48K. And on the HD8, you can use ADAT in standalone mode, so you don't need to be connected to a computer to use ADAT on the HD8. So all of that is particularly very, very cool. And as you can see, there's the HD2, quite a bit smaller than the HD8, but it still packs quite the punch, in my opinion. So let's go back and see what we got. Let's see. Steve Wilson says, your voice sounds excellent through Quantum HD, crisp and clear. Thank you very much. Aurora's Boring Alice says, auto gain is an option, not stuck in pre-fade, I think. Yes, Auto gain only works when you press the auto gain button to set the levels. That's all it does. It just helps you set levels really quickly. It doesn't continuously run and adjust your gain all the time. It only adjusts the gain when you actually press the button, and it listens to the audio for 10 seconds, and then it sets the levels from what it hears over those 10 seconds. Okay, it's not like continuously working, adjusting, micro adjusting your gain all the time. It's just when you press the button, it then does its thing for 10 seconds, it listens to your audio, and then it sets your gain. That's it. That's all it does. So now keyboardists and guitar players have sound design tools at their fingertips. I guess drummers have drum machines. Yeah, kind of. Tony says, I think this quantum is excellent if you have a band or if you are doing any type of studio recording. Yes, if you're doing studio recording, but even if you're on your own, even if it's just you and you are never going to have other artists in your studio space to record, then the HD2 is going to be just fine for you, because you only need 2 inputs probably, maximum. You only need your voice for recording your vocals and a guitar input. That's all you need. You don't need 8 ins, and you don't need the ADATs probably. But certainly you might want to take advantage of the high gain converters, the high dynamic range converters, and the extra gain that you get from the inputs. And the fact that the inputs are much, much better than anything that the Presonus have ever developed. So, it's ideal for somebody that is working alone. The HD2 is ideal for somebody that is working on their own. And the HD8 is definitely useful if you're going to be recording a drum set, or if you're recording more than 2 musicians plus yourself. So if you're having people in your studio regularly, or you're recording your drum set, then the HD8 is a good option. Or if you have lots of external keyboards that need audio input, then yeah, the HD8 is going to be good again for that. Let's see. Tony says, oh, I've read that already. Just Bob says, that's cool. HD2 would serve me well. Not a lot of space. Yeah. Just Bob says he likes the HD2 and he's going to save up for it. Awesome. Yeah, it's $500. And I think it's a good option for you. Dwayne says Rode NT1A. Yes, that's the mic I'm using right now, is the Rode NT1A. I've had it for quite a long time. Another good option for a good vocal mic would be one of the Lewitt, the lower end of the price spectrum of Lewitt microphones. Now, here's the thing. Lewitt microphones, their low budget range actually are really, 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 really good. You get a lot more quality for the price that they charge for those microphones. Seriously, they are incredibly good microphones. Even if they don't charge a lot of money for them, they are really, really, really good. Lewitt mics are fantastic. I highly recommend them. I don't have any of them, but I have worked in studios where those have been the microphones that they use, and I've recorded into them, and they sound fantastic. So yes, highly recommend something like Lewitt for sure. I'm going to see what else we've got. So if you want to take a look at the ES2s, we can take a look at the ES2. The ES series interfaces. These are just as good. So these guys are a little bit on the smaller size. So you got the ES2 and the ES4. 2 inputs here, 4 inputs here, and these are more tabletop kind of interfaces, and they are very cool. They certainly do pack a punch. They're USB-C bus powered, so no wall power supply required. The ES4 has an extra pair of line outs compared to the ES2, and you have MIDI, and you have an aux optional power port if you need it. And there are certain circumstances where you might actually need to use the aux. And don't ask me about the aux because I don't know anything about it. Again, you get the same 75 dB of preamp gain, slightly less dynamic range for the converters, only like 4 dB though, nothing major. 1 instrument input, 2 instrument inputs on the bigger one. They all have auto gain, but this time you only get 6 months of Studio One Plus rather than the 12 months and the perpetual license at the end of it. You get universal control, you also get loopback, and they are both USB bus powered. And 2 line outs on the smaller one, 4 line outs on the bigger one, and the bigger one has speaker switching, because of course it has 4 line outs instead of 2. And that's basically all she wrote for these guys. These are a little bit cheaper, $229.99 and $329.99. But they all feature loopback. And they have the high performance converters as well, and they've got the max HD preamps, the same preamps as the HD interfaces. So these are just as good as the HD. They are just different and designed for different purposes primarily. So you get a little bit less of the high performance on the dynamic range of the converters, but I think these are pretty good. And as I said, these are bus powered. The HD ones, these are not bus powered. These are powered units, so you have to have a power supply for these. So with the HD8, it's this kind of power supply, and then it's a smaller kind of transformer style power supply for the HD2. So they are definitely different. So be aware of that. All right, so I think we are done there. John says, will there be an ES/HD version of the I/O station? No idea. You're asking about future products, and I cannot speak about future products. And actually, as it goes, when I say I don't know, I genuinely don't know in this case. But yes, I cannot speak to future development of future products at all on this channel. So anytime anybody says, hey, is there going to be, what do you think I'm going to be able to answer? I'm not going to be able to say yes. What are you expecting me to say? Because I can't. Headphone gain, some units at this size run 80 ohms. That's a very good question. 1 second, and I'll find that out for you. So I go to the HD8, look on the HD8 page in particular, and we can go and look at the actual specs. Here we go. So this is the HD8, the actual specifications here. So this gives you all the rundown of the microphone preamps and the instrument inputs, and then the line outs and the main outs and headphones. Headphone output impedance working range 33 ohms. There's your answer right there, 33 ohms. Headphone maximum output is 11 dBu, which is 50 ohms. That's the maximum. And then that's the working range. Okay, and then this gives you the dimensions. It's 19-inch, it's rack mountable, and you get the DV9 breakout cable, and you get the USB-C to USB-C cable. And if your computer doesn't have any USB-C ports, that's okay. You can use what I'm using, which is a C to A cable, and I'm plugging it into a USB-A port on my PC, and it works just fine. And the latency values I have personally at this point in time are around about 5 milliseconds. So I don't worry really about that kind of thing. Support sample rates 44.1, 48, 88.2, 96, 176.4, and 192. And it's 32-bit, and the dynamic range, as we've talked about, is 124 dB. All right, so hopefully that answers that question. More of a point to feedback to Persona's gods. Yeah, well, you know, there is answers.personas.com. If you want to see something like the Quantums, but in the Revelator range, then make a feature request for that. And who knows? Who knows what the future might hold? But for right now, the Quantums are the new thing. And yeah, that's pretty much all I can say on that subject. Because I can't really speak to future products, as you know. So I hope that this has been helpful for you guys. We've still got 20 people here. We've got 22 likes, which is awesome. And we've got an after show set up via Billy. Billy Morgan has set that up. So if you guys want to head over there, then we can all hook up over there. That would be cool. And Just Bob has also linked to Rich Cresswell's s1box.com. Go check out those sound sets. If sound sets are your bag and you want to make sounds, you want to make music with some of Rich's amazing sounds, then go and get those. And don't forget to buy him a coffee. Laura's pouring. Alice says, I'd buy if the price dropped off a bit, but I would buy if I could write it off for sure. Okay. Yep, you do whatever you need to do. All right, so there we go. As I said, I don't do product reviews particularly. I know that there are like 3 on the channel, but that's like 3 over the course of 10 years, pretty much. I only tend to do a product review of something that I think is particularly good and that I actually use. So in this case, I'm actually using the Quantum HD8. And I'm still going to be using the Quantum HD8 until it stops working. But yes, it is genuinely a fantastic device. Like I said, I've only had it for a few days. We'll see in 6 months' time what I think, but I'm pretty sure I'm still going to like it. And I'm still going to get a really good experience out of it. I haven't uncovered all of the features of it yet and all of the things that it's capable of doing. But I'm pretty sure that I will as time goes by, and I will talk about those when I do. But yes, the whole Quantum line, the ES2, the ES4, the HD2, and the HD8 are all fecking awesome devices and well worth getting. Not just because they're the new thing from Presonus, but because they have brand new mic pre's that are better than anything else we have ever put out. No question about it. It's the next generation of X-Max pre's for sure. And they definitely rock. So yeah, check them out. John Hathaway says the whole range looks awesome. I've just got the 32R, my band's old 1824C, so no funds available. Get these, but next time. There you go. All right, folks, we'll leave it there. We will be back for Songwriting Simplified on Wednesday. And then again back here on Sunday, the following Sunday. So until then, folks, I wish you a very good evening, and I will see you all on Wednesday. Have a great start to your week. Have a good one, folks. If you want to head over to the Zoom after this, just click the link there that Billy has posted, and I'll see you over there. Bye for now.